imagine a universe where the Charmed Ones have this laser power that Prue has? Piper is able to freeze entire radiuses. Like she damn near froze all of San Francisco. And then Phoebe is just up here able to levitate and fry people's brains. The Charmed Ones were wreaking havoc with these powers. And I could not imagine a universe where they had that much power. Like, what is going on, everybody? How are y'all doing today? So today I want to talk about Charmed and some of its alternate timelines, universes, things like that. I really want to get into like how things could have been different and the times that we saw things be different, how it would have looked if we had kept going on in that timeline versus returning to the main timeline. So let's go ahead and roll that intro and we'll get right into it.
It's the power of G. What we doing, come and see. Making bold comments on movies and on TV. Everything magic, ironic, cause he the one. Go subscribe, cause it's easier to show you what's going on. It's the power of G.
Y'all, I'm sorry, but I had to bring some attention to the intro. We got a new intro. The information for the song and for the actual intro itself will be available in the description. So the intro and song were actually made possible by our lovely supporters on Patreon. Please head on over there if you haven't already. Thank you, Hussies, so much for believing in me. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me and for making it possible for us to elevate the channel in some shape, form, or fashion. And if you or somebody you know would like to become a member of the Patreon, then please head on over to Power of G. One more little thing, we do have a website now, Power of G Community, so head on over there. So speaking of the Patreon, that's actually my inspiration behind this video because I posted a poll asking what alternate universe people wanted to live in, and some of the responses were so interesting to me. And it really got the old noggin to thinking, and I was like, oh, this would be a good video topic. So I'm going to be reading the comments, but then I'm also going to include them on the screen so you can go, follow them, and I'm going to put their ad so you can go ahead and go follow them real quick. Now, our very first comment comes from Justin, who's one of our lovely moderators. And Justin said, I want the evil universe simply because I want to see a good version of the Stillman sisters. Listen, y'all know that when I saw that comment, my brain was like, my babies, my boos, the Stillmans. I love the Stillman sisters. I love what the Stillman sisters could have become. I actually did a Stillman sister rewrite, so you may want to go, watch that video. I'm going to link it somewhere up here. I might even link it in the description. So that actually got me to thinking so many different things, thinking about the Stillman sisters as like good witches, because here's the thing about Charmed in the Charmed universe is that sometimes I feel like the distinction between like evil witches and witches who did evil, and then also warlocks who sometimes warlocks were previously good witches. Like, you know what I mean? There wasn't, I feel like, a good enough distinction between them to where you could pinpoint and be like, oh, this. Because the Stillmans, at certain points, it seemed like they were evil witches, but I kind of just also took them to be witches who use magic for personal gain and for evil purposes, but then they were unaliving people, you know what I mean? So it's like there's this sort of weirdness to them. And then you think about somebody like Christy, who I know this is not the topic of this video, but Christy was like not an evil witch, but she ended up getting vanquished like an evil witch. Whereas like the Stillman sisters were actually taking people's lives and we just bound their powers. So you see where I'm going with that. So one of the things that this made me start thinking about is, would good witches in that universe even want to be evil? Like, I feel like the purpose would still be the same, right? So you know how the Stillmans wanted to take the sisters' magic so that they could become the most powerful witches and then just sort of wreak havoc, do what they want, take out their enemies, things like that. So would a good witch want to take the mantle of the evil Charmed Ones so that they could sway the balance from evil to good. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there would be more intention behind creating balance and harmony than there would be like, oh, we just want the power. So that would have been very interesting to see. And I also wonder if that would have made them make the Stillman sisters smart. Because love my babies down. Love my girls. Love my babies down. They were not smart. Mabel was the smartest one of all three of them. And she was, so it makes me wonder if like that ditziness would still be there. And if it was, then how would they tie that into like good witches? Because part of what made them so like deliciously evil was the fact that they were ditzy, the fact that they didn't know things. So I would love to know how that played out in that universe, because what were we doing? But another thing that made me start thinking was, would they have unalived people? Because, my girls were stabbing left and right. They was eating people's snacks after they took their lives. They took out that vacuum cleaner. That man, although that was on him, that was fully his fault. Like, she closed the door. She gave him the opportunity to leave, but he came back. So that one was on him. Now, am I saying that my girls, should have done it? No, I'm just saying that they gave him the opportunity and he's the one that he did it to himself. But it makes me wonder, like, those good versions of the Stillman sisters, because since morality is reversed in that universe, would they have still taken people's lives? Or would they have made it like a self-defense thing and been like, these people who are evil are attacking them, and so they have to, you know what I mean? Like, it just brings out so many amazing questions that I feel like could have been answered if they had just taken like 5 minutes. Anyway, no. This video is not about the evil universe, but I do think it's important to sort of talk a little bit about why I'm so whatever. I have a very love-hate relationship with the evil universe. I love evil Paige. I love evil Phoebe. I love just watching them be in a completely different element, right? But what I don't love is how the mechanics of the evil universe works. And maybe that should be its own separate video, but I hate the way that like we don't know how things work. Like, are you telling me that, like, how does the source work? How do these good evil entities work? They're not even evil. How do these good entities work? Like, what are good demons? Let's move on, because I will harp on this forever. So one more quick point about the evil universe that I really want to bring up is something that we talked about, I think, on live. Evil Phoebe, right? And good Cole. So Cole, listen, we had a whole discussion about how evil demons, good demons, see, it's so hard to keep the words straight, about how demons work in this universe. Like, are demons agents? Clearly they're good, but like, are they agents of good? Are they trying to spread good? So my question was like, was Cole's mission to, instead of end their lives, like, was Cole there to sway Phoebe to good? Or are good demons and good witches, is their aim still to vanquish evil? So like, was Cole there so that he could take out this force of evil? Because let's not forget here that Phoebe is still human. Like, yes, she's an evil witch, but Phoebe would still be human. So Cole, I'm assuming a demon is still like a demon, but why are good demons going around killing humans? Like, it doesn't make sense. And that's the problem, is like, it just doesn't make any sense. And those sorts of storylines are Darklighters and witches not supposed to be together. We're Darklighters. And we actually had some really good conversation about that. And for that, you're going to have to head on over to the Power G podcast so you can listen to the replay. Ooh, Purr, you didn't think I was going to be able to get that promo in there, did you? So the second point comes from Diamond. And Diamond says the obvious answer is the evil universe because it seems like it was the most fleshed out. But honestly, seeing the full progression of the future where Phoebe was burned will be so interesting. Not only because it means Prue would have lived, but also because the sisters grew apart so much. How did that happen? That their powers were over the top powerful. Like, what was the power Phoebe had and how did she get it? Does that mean she didn't get empathy? And Piper and Leo had a normal witchy little girl and not the overpowered mistake that was Wyatt. Because Wyatt is absolutely an abomination, and that is me adding that in there. Wyatt is an abomination. Diamond goes on to say that she used her powers to kill an innocent. At that point, she was an evil witch. That Phoebe would have broken out of jail and been on some Tawatha stuff. Very good point. I think we should start there. Because you can't tell me that that version of Phoebe would not have used magic to get out. Like, she didn't seem like, I don't know. We didn't get a chance to really see any of their personalities. We just know that Phoebe used her magic for vengeance. So maybe Phoebe had kind of come to the same realization that our Phoebe did, that, you know, she needed to be there. We don't know. But, okay, they have a shock collar on her. That's cute. Girl, cast a spell. Mama, say a cute little 1-2. You know what I mean? Why are you stuck in there? Girl, if you don't get up out of there. And then why are why are Prue and Piper doing all this extra so that they can bust her out? Just summon her. I have never thought about that before. Girl, just, oh, Jesus. Okay, all right. I'm going to make a TikTok about that. Whatever my little thoughts are that I'm going to probably have on the side, I'm just going to make a TikTok about it. And you can follow me on TikTok if they call me Mr. G. See you there. But no, I think that those are excellent points. Like, the first one that I really want to talk about is Phoebe's power, because from what I understand, what we saw in the future was an advancement of her empathy power. It was like she was able to do like some psychic reflection type stuff, and that's what the lightning was like her channeling emotion, or it was something like that. So what we saw was actually the empathy power, which is very interesting, because I don't feel like the writers actually knew that that's what they wanted it to be. I feel like that because I don't have any faith in them. And if you're new here, you'll find out very quickly. I have no faith in the Charmed writers. And when I do try to give them something, I might go back and be like, no, there's some stuff that I feel like may have been like a little precursor to something else, but they didn't have the range. But I will say that I love the concept of like what this not evil. I'm saying evil because we talked about the evil universe. But this universe, what it was, like their powers were, I mean, my God in heaven. Can you imagine a universe where the Charmed ones have this laser power that Prue has? Piper is able to freeze entire radiuses. Like she damn near froze all of San Francisco. And then Phoebe is just up here able to levitate and fry people's brains. The Charmed ones were wreaking havoc with these powers. And I could not imagine a universe where they had that much power. Like, that's one of those things where I feel like they probably vanquished the source and then moved on. Like, it was like, okay, well, we vanquished the source, girl. We're just gonna do whatever now. I genuinely feel like that's what happened. Like, they vanquished the source and we're just like, let's go. Now, there is something else that I want to talk about in that, which is Piper and that man's daughter. I can't say his name. But Piper and that man's daughter, I want to know what her powers were. Because here's the thing, we don't necessarily know that she wasn't OP. We don't know that. All we know is that she said she wasn't going to use her magic because Piper told her not to. But we don't actually know what this child could do. I could still see her being overpowered, especially because this sort of power boosted version of Piper. Now, Piper clearly was power boosted when she had Wyatt, but what I'm saying is more along the lines of like Piper's powers had still progressed. So I could still see that child being very, and we really don't know that Piper didn't have her explosion power. The only reason that we can kind of assume that she didn't is because she got scared and she never really and there were moments where she was angry or confused or whatever, and she never blew anything up. So we can make the assumption that that version of Piper never had the explosion power. But what's interesting is that would also mean, like, we never saw Prue low-key astral project. So did that version of Prue have astral projection? And what makes it even more interesting to me and makes me wonder if the writer, God, I can't give them this much. We never see Piper's secondary power. We never see Prue's secondary power. But we see all of Phoebe's powers in some shape, form, or fashion. We see the levitation. We see we know that that's an advanced version of her empathy. So Phoebe literally has all the powers that we see on screen in later seasons. They actually show them to us, but Piper and Piper and Prue do not have their secondary powers. I'm not giving the writers that kind of credit. I'm not going to say that they did that on purpose. I'm just not. But it does make you start to think, like, what were they doing in this universe? Had they vanquished the source? Had they fulfilled their destiny? Were they just being allowed to just run amok with magic? Did Prue use magic to get herself at this highest point in Bucklands? I mean, what was Piper's profession? There's so many questions that were left unanswered. And I think that exploring that future a little bit more really would have been like just the icing on the cake, because there's so much potential there. And they'll like reference the future sometimes, like, oh, in the future you were supposed to have a little girl. This is around the time you're supposed to be having children. Oh yeah, this was also the same future where Prue was where people were burned at the stake and Prue was alive. Like, they reference it, but I feel like they deviated so much that they just didn't bring it up. And I think that what they could have done was maybe like a little storyline where they talk about how they have no faith in the future anymore because what they saw come to fruition never did. And I think the biggest catalyst to that discussion will be Prue, because you could say Piper had absolutely no faith in the future anymore and in their magic, because magic showed her that her sister would be alive. You see what I'm saying? You see how you can mine those stories for more stories and you could get it going? They kind of touch on that a little bit in season 4. And like the examples that I gave before, when Phoebe is like, oh, according to the future, you're supposed to be having a baby right now. And Piper's like, girl, whatever. And then, also in season 5, when Grams is like, you saw yourself having a little girl in the future. And Piper's like, girl, that's also the future where Prue was alive. So they did it in bursts. And I think one of the issues with Charm sometimes is that they don't actually say the thing. They throw it out there and then they don't do anything else with it. Where I think Piper's story was her coming to grips with this new reality that she was living in. But I think that she would have benefited as a character in the same way that Phoebe lost faith in her premonitions, the same way that Phoebe lost faith in love. Piper could have lost faith in magic because magic told her that this was going to happen and she lost someone that was so important to her. And I think that would have been an important story, because we could have actually gone on the journey with Piper of her rooting herself in reality, in right now, and shown us why she's so focused on right now, as opposed to like, oh, well, I'm not really focused on magic because magic lies, because magic didn't. Okay, I've gotten off topic, but do you see what I mean about how these alternate realities on the show really gave us a glimpse into some more amazing stories and what they could have been? And I feel like that's what I love about alternate realities, is just the fact that you get a chance to actually live out another version of these characters. And it gives you the opportunity to mine for more stories. It gives you the chance to have them grapple with, okay, I have seen this happen. What do I do with it now? Now, I won't lie to y'all. One of my personal picks for what I wanted to see more of was the universe from Centennial Charmed. Like, this alternate universe, timeline, whatever, where Cole, completely flipped everything around. Paige was no longer alive. And so, like, San Francisco was just, like, in debauchery. Piper was leather clad. Phoebe was smoking cigarettes. Like, I want to know what happened after Paige left. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, Galen, the universe ceased to exist. Okay, that's fine. I am talking about an instance where that universe continues on. I am talking about, like, an instance where that universe continues on alternately. We don't know what happens, you know, whatever else. And so from their perspective, Paige is now gone. The power of 3 that they had back for just that brief, quick little moment, they literally got the power of 3 back and then lost it again. And I just want to know, like, what happened after that? Because Cole is gone. So does that mean that the seer ramped up her attack? Does that mean that the source ramped up his attack? I mean, but then what attack does there need to be? Piper is knocked out. She may have been dead for all we know. And then Phoebe is now solely there by herself. She's not actually a threat, but now it's kind of like a retaliatory thing. You took out Cole. We're going to take you out. You're not going to play in our face like that. So I feel like things would have stayed like they were, maybe gotten a little bit worse, but they pretty much would have stayed like they were, except in that universe, they would all be gone. And think about a world where, like, the Warren witches were kind of like lifted up, like they truly were a force of good that was protecting that world. So imagine a universe where there are no more Warren witches. They're all gone. The line is extinct. What does that look like? Because now the charmed ones have already come to fruition. They've come to fruition, and within such a short period of time, they're all gone. There's no more, you know, whatever. The balance has been completely taken. So I would have loved to see a little bit more of that. I would have absolutely loved to have seen how Piper and Phoebe navigated this world where they're not the charmed ones, but they still feel this responsibility and duty to fight the good fight. I mean, how do you do that when the world is taken over by evil? So tell me in the comments below, what were some of your favorite alternate realities in Charmed, or alternate timelines, or alternate whatevers? What were some of your favorite moments? I can't wait to see what you say. Well, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video on up for today, and I hope that y'all have a great rest of the day. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel, whatever you want to do, preferably all 3. And don't forget to head on over to our Patreon, Power of G. And don't forget to head on over to our new website, powerofgcommunity.com. I cannot wait to see you there. I hope that you love it. And also, if you want to get some Power of G merch, like this mug, then please head on over to the powerofgcommunity.com, where you can find a link to our merch shop, and you can get all sorts of things. Like, you can get this mug, you can get a blanket, you can get a beanie, you can get whatever you want. So, all right, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and log on out, and I will see you later. Blessed be. Bye.
We got the power. We got the power.